got better and better every game. I think he's starting to get a bit more trust and belief in his body as well. I think early on he might have been a little bit apprehensive as to what he could do, especially with the wicket keeping side of it. You know, he'd done a little bit of batting coming into the tournament, so I think he had pretty good trust in his leg with the bat in his hand. But I think what we've seen with his ability to play every game as a keeper so far, you know, his keeping skills behind the stumps have been really good. I think his batting is getting better and better by the game. So, you know, I've been asked a lot already the last couple of weeks. Now that he's back and playing, what do I think about his World Cup chances? I think he'll be in their squad for sure. I think he's too good of a player and it can have too much of an impact on games for India not to select him in that squad. So, now we're obviously delighted to have him back. It's, you know, he's the heart and soul of this franchise, and hopefully from here on in he can help us win some more games.
Do you think the high scores we are seeing this season is that just a function of the impact player rule and the flat wickets, or do you think the mindset has changed in T20 cricket and it's something that teams need to consider at the T20 World Cup, that batters need to go at it from ball one, and even the selections that teams make has to be to pick attacking players all through?
Yeah, look, I think it's a bit of both. I think batting skills gotten better as well. I think the mindset's changed a little bit, and I think the impact player is also helping. So when you put all those three things together, that's why you're seeing, you know, these 250 plus scores being made. You know, what we saw in our game the other night was incredible. You know, for a team to get 125 in the power play, and then I think we had the second highest power play total ever in IPL history, and we were still 40 runs behind. So that goes to show how good Sunrisers were. But also our batting the other night. I mean, we were well and truly on target. We only needed, I think, 11 runs and over for about the last 11 overs of that game. So we were doing some good things as well. But you know, the impact player is definitely helping. You can stack your batting at the top. You can allow your batters to go out and play with freedom, and then if you get in trouble, you can bring a batsman in to try and fix things up. So it's definitely helping. And you know, I've been asked the last couple of weeks about that as well. Do I think it's good for the game or bad for the game? It's not ideal for a coach, and it's probably not ideal that you haven't just got 11 versus 11 the way that the traditional game has always been played. But you know, I think that the fans are probably enjoying seeing 270 runs being scored in an innings of a T20 game. And at the end of the day, we have to understand that this is an entertainment package that we're putting on the field, and if the fans are enjoying it, then this rule will probably stay.
Ricky, just speaking about the last game, you had mentioned at the pre-match press conference that you have planned for their top order. So just want to understand how much room is there for the matchups to be executed in T20s now, given the depth with most teams enjoy. Like you operated with Lalit against the two left-handers, then persisted with a left-right combination with the bat. Do you still see scope of that given the way teams are batting?
Absolutely, but when you've got the match up there that you want, you have to make sure you execute what you're trying to do well. You know, we had a really good match up with Khalil Ahmed and Travis Head in the first over as well, and we got it horribly wrong. You know, the execution in the first over was nowhere near where it needed to be. Even with Lalit, you know, we talk about certain lengths that you want bowlers to bowl and certain lengths you need them to hit on in different conditions, and we had a look at the breakdown of Lalit's 2 overs after the game, and there weren't too many balls in the length that we wanted him to hit. So, but that's also due to the pressure that batsmen put on. You know, it's not an easy job being a bowler in a T20 game, and when batsmen come out with that sort of intent, you know as a bowler that if you miss by a foot on length or a foot on line, then you're going to get hit, and that's what happened to us the other night.
The left-right batting bit, you know, the opposition had two left-handers. They didn't really go for that left-right thing, but for a couple of games now where you were chasing high totals, I just want to understand what the management thinks when you kind of persist with left-right in big chases. Like, what's the thought behind that?
Well, they had their two left-handed, they're openers, right? So yeah. That's not a choice for them to make. That's just their two best opening batsmen happen to be left-handed. You know, we've got Shaw and Warner opening for us. That's not because they're left-hand, right-hand. That's just our best two opening batters. But yeah, Rishabh the other night, it's a thing that he's really keen on. He wanted to keep that left-hand, right-hand going through the run chase the other day, and it's mainly when you've got spin bowlers. And the other night as well, with the dimensions of the ground, we have one short side. So if you've got left-hand, right-hand, that means that someone can always target the short boundary. So that's the thinking behind it. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't think it was detrimental to the way that we went about our batting the other night. You know, Abhishek Perel went up early and did a really good job. But you know, chasing 270 was always going to be a hard task, and we weren't quite good enough to do it.
Ricky, just talking about the impact player role, how do you ensure the players are happy with whatever roles being given, especially the all-rounders? Because Akshay was here a few minutes ago, and he obviously is a good batter. He has got that batting credentials, and he would want to bat up the order sometimes. So how do you ensure that the players are happy with whatever the roles being given to them, and just stick to that role?
Yeah, well, we haven't used an impact player ahead of action at all this year. If we've got in trouble, I mean, I think we've only brought a batsman in to our bat first team in one game, which is the first game of the year, and it was Abhishek Parel that came in at number 9 and got 32 off 10 balls. So, I mean, all batsmen want to bat higher in the order. No one wants to be batting down at 7 and 8 and only getting half a dozen balls a game. But you talk about roles, that's the role of those guys that are batting there. I mean, you look at Dhoni this season, Dhoni's going in for 1 over at the end and finding a way to have impact on the game. That's what we need to get from our 6, 7, 8, 9 batsmen when they get their opportunity. And I talk about it all the time, whether it's for 1 ball or 6 balls with a bat, or if it's 1 over you get to bowl, you got to find a way to make an impact on the game. So, yeah, I mean, the impact player, as I said, I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure if it's good for all-rounders or bad for all-rounders, but it seems to be leading to more runs being scored, which I think was probably the idea of it in the first place.
With the question is regarding Mitchell Marsh, what's the situation behind him? Is he coming back?
I don't think he'll be coming back. No,
Okay, so then how does it affect his chances for the World Cup, since he's one of the potential captains for Australia in the tournament?
Yeah, well, as you guys would be aware, there's a certain cut-off point with replacement players in the IPL. So we sent Cricket Australia were really keen to have Mitchell at home to start his recovery process. So we sent him back as soon as we could, and they've been managing his rehab over the last couple of weeks now. I spoke to him the other day. It seems like it's taken a little bit longer than he first thought to get over it. I don't think the World Cup will be an issue, but I think it'll be hard work to see him coming back here for us at the back end of this tournament.
Ricky, you spoke about James. We have seen the way in the last match, the likes of Abhishek Sharma or Travis Head or Jake, the way they batted. Do you think this is the apt template for T20 cricket right now, and there's no space for anchors going forward? The way batting has been evolved over the period of time.
Look, I don't think there's been a spot for anchors for a long time in the game. It's just you have to have batsmen that can do both. Like you need players that can adapt and adjust when required. So, but the way to do that is you have to pick your best and most aggressive players, and then hope that they can pull the reins in if you're 3 or 4 down early. And being ultra critical of Jake the other night. I mean, Jake played an incredibly good innings to get to where he got to off 18 balls or whatever it was. But if he had got through just that last ball, that 1 over, then he would have had another spinner at the other end that he could have targeted again. So, it's one thing to be out there and all that attack, but you still got to have some game sense and game awareness around you. It's not all just crash and bang. There's more tactics that go into this game than most people would know about, and the teams that get the tactics right more often than not will win games. And there have been a few moments in this competition already that we've got things wrong, and they've cost us games in the matter of 1 or 2 overs, and that's how tight this tournament is.
Ricky,
Last,
had a good look at Jake before the IPL environment saw a bit of him. He played for the Capitals in the other franchisee competition, and had a good season at BBL as well. How do you see his progression, especially in the last 12 years, from not getting chances in his original state team to where he is currently?
Look, there's been a huge turnaround in Jake's career in the last 2 years, in the last 18 months, as you say, and the main change from that was he moved from Victoria to South Australia. He got an opportunity to play Sheffield Shield cricket and one-day cricket for South Australia, and he's always been at the Melbourne Renegades, where last year was his best season. So, look, I think everyone here would agree with me. He's a serious talent. There's no doubt about that. And so far he's not anywhere near the finished product yet. He's 22 or 23 years of age, and I've said to him right at the start of this tournament that I would love to be able to spend more time with him one-on-one and work with him on his batting, on not just his ball striking, but how he thinks about the game and goes about the game. And we've already made some pretty significant technical changes with him since he's been here that I think have worked wonders for him. His range of strokes now around the ground is a lot more than it was when he first got here. So to be able to work with him for a couple of weeks and change things like that, it says how quickly he can learn. And you know, the most talented players are always the fastest learners. They, you know, the best players in the world that I've ever seen have always been the best problem solvers. They solve problems quicker than anybody else, and that's what makes them the best. So I've enjoyed working with him so far, and you know, there's not many players that can go out and get
Can he
50
be
or
the,
14 balls.
can he be the one who can be a good prospect in red ball cricket as well?
Let him finish the
Yeah,
response.
yeah, absolutely. I said in the Australian summer that I think he can be a 3-format player for Australia. He hasn't shown a lot yet in first-class cricket. In fact, I don't even know what his average is, but I'd be surprised if his average is above 30 in Sheffield Shield cricket yet. But that will go up. And if I can, as I said, if I could spend some more time with him, then I'm pretty sure I could get that average up pretty quickly.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, and last. Go.
Ricky, we've seen BBL trying out X Factor. Now impact there is the buzzword. You have spoken about all the facets. Do you think something similar can be implemented or should be implemented in international cricket?
No, I don't. I wouldn't like to see it actually in international cricket, and that doesn't mean I'm not a fan of it here. But I think, you know, international cricket's all about the team that has their strongest 11 or their strongest squad of 15 in a World Cup. That's what, for me, that's what World Cups are all about. You know, World Cup is a tournament. You've got 15 players there. You've got to manage those players through the ups and downs of a World Cup, and the team that's left standing the strongest at the end will win. So I think leave it as is. I mean, I think the X Factor, what was it called? X Factor was the Big Bash. I think that only lasted maybe a season.
I think it was something with
Power Surge is still there. I think that's actually quite a good rule, but the X Factor player, it wasn't. There were different rules around the X Factor. You could only use it after the 10 over mark, so that sort of limited it a little bit. So it didn't work in the BBL. I think the Power Surge has worked, but you know, if I was on any international cricket board or committee now, I'd be saying just leave the international game the way it is.
Your predictions
Next.
for the semi-final World Cup? 4 teams.
Sir, यहाँ से ले रहे थे
I'm
मैं question.
more worried about trying to win a game for the Delhi Capitals over the next couple of years
Yeah,
than
go,
thinking
go,
too
go.
far ahead to
You
the
after
World
that,
Cup.
please, just wait.
So Ishant Sharma injured himself before the last game. So how is he now, and when can we expect him back on the field?
Yeah, well, it's not really an injury. He had a back spasm, so it's you know, like a cramp in your back. So but for a fast bowler that's only sort of 5 minutes away from the toss, we took the precaution with him. He was quite sore and, you know, couldn't really move much when it happened. And I've battled back injuries and issues my whole life, so I know what they're like. And so he's had a couple of pretty quiet days. I know he had a day with the physio yesterday. We've got 2 training sessions today and tomorrow before our next game. He won't train today, but I'm pretty sure he'll be right to train the day before the game, and then hopefully be fit for selection.
Ricky, just want to ask, can you tell us the changes you saw in Rishabh Pant after that, what had happened, and he was out for almost a year, more than a year, how he has changed as a leader and as a player? Can you enlighten us on that?
Look, I don't think he's changed much as a cricketer, to be honest. I think the way he thinks about life now might be a little bit different than it was beforehand. You know, he's been faced some pretty terrifying times. You know, you think about the accident in isolation, but then the thought of maybe never playing cricket again and not being able to do what he loves would have been a nightmare for anyone. And you know, the extent of his injury, even when I first saw him, and that was in the middle of last year's IPL, I must admit I had concerns if he was going to play again as well. But he's worked incredibly hard. You know, this franchise has been very, very supportive of doing everything they can to give him the chance to get back to full fitness again. And right now, I mean, he's not very far off being at full fitness. I'm sure all you guys have watched him closely every game. You know, he's running between the wickets well. He's keeping really well. He's lost nothing with his hand-eye coordination with the gloves on. He's moving well. So, and more importantly, he's, you know, when I saw him just after the accident, obviously there wasn't much to be happy about for him. But now that he's back playing and playing well, he's got a smile on his face again, and that's the most important thing.
Thank
Last
you.
one on the left. Yeah, go.
My question is about Jake. Like you have told about him before coming here that he's 3-format player, he's replacement of Warner. But when